Hello, welcome back to How to RV. I am Jason, and today we're going to talk about RV trip planning. So here in just a minute, we're going to go to the computer and we're going to pull up RV Trip Wizard. In the last video, and I'll leave a link to that, we talked about different things that you can use to plan your trips. And in that video, I promised you that we would go into RV Trip Wizard and we would actually plan out an actual trip. So not to drag things on too much longer, let's go ahead, head into the computer. We'll pull up RV Trip Wizard and we'll start planning our trip. Alright, now that we have our computer open, we're going to go to RV Trip Wizard. So I'll start typing it in the bar up at the top. You can see the rvtripwizard.com. I've already typed it in. We're going to go ahead and go to their site. And because I'm already a member of RV Trip Wizard, I'm going to go to my planner. So right here, I think I'm going to name this Family Trip in Alabama. And then down here, do you know the day you're leaving? I'll say yes, and I'm just going to leave it on this date right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and create. Now on the next step, you can have 3 different options to find out where you want to start from. You can click on this to find or use your current location. Or on this one, you can search by an address, or down on here, show the map and just click a waypoint. So the good thing about using this as a start for a location where you can type in where you want to be is because you may be creating a trip from a place where you're not currently staying at. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and type this here just like I am typing up a trip from somewhere that I'm not normally at. Go ahead there, and this is where I want to start from. So I'm going to go ahead and click start, and it's going to start building my trip for me. So from there, I have some general information here on the left that I need to start filling out. So you see these tabs up the top. We'll walk across those here in just a second. But on the general tab, the trip name, Family Trip in Alabama, trip notes. And here I want to put a note in that there are going to be 2 stops. One going to Alabama and one coming back, because we're not going to drive all the way through. So there's an area where we want to stop along the way and an area we want to stop on our way back home. So that being said, we're going to stop at a Harvest Host along the way to Alabama and a Harvest Host on the way back. If you want to know more about Harvest Host, I'll have a tag right here about a video that I made about Harvest Host, as well as down in the description below. All right, back to talking about RV Trip Wizard. In RV Trip Wizard, we have all we need right here. So the trip status is going to be active. In here, you have active, tentative, and archive. So active is a trip that we're going to currently do. A tentative trip is something that we'll be doing later on. And then an archive trip is maybe a trip that we want to put on here. It is something maybe or maybe not that we will do, but it's in here and stored. Pre-departure or email, yes or no. In here, I do want to get an email just before we departure. It'll give me all the information that I need. And then the units, imperial or metric, but we're in the United States, so we'll stay on an imperial here. The next part is what all gets interesting about how this is going to work for me. So in here you have your RV specifications and your truck and fuel and RV information, all that stuff. So starting on the left, your specifications. You don't have to worry about going out and measuring your RV and trying to figure all that out, because it's going to figure it out for you. So what we're going to do here is click on look up RV information. And we have a travel trailer, so I'm going to click on that, and it's a 2019, and it is made by Forest River, and it's a Cherokee Grey Wolf, and it is a 26 dBH. Once I click on that, it's going to give me all of my information for me. So my height is 10 foot 6 inches, my length is 29 foot 3 inches, and my weight is approximately 7,570 pounds. Am I carrying propane? Yes, of course I am. And then on the right hand side is the RV truck fuel information. This is where it's going to get really interesting here. So the fuel type, diesel. How many gallons of fuel do I have? 30 gallons. How many reserve? 2. Fuel economy, 9 miles to the gallon. Now when you put this information in on yours, you don't want to put in how much you get on fuel mileage if you're not towing. You want to put in the fuel mileage that you get while you're towing. And for fuel warnings, yes, I want multiple fuel warnings. And the reason that I want that is because I want it to tell me every time I need to stop and get fuel. Once all that is done, I'm going to go to routing and driving information. On the left-hand side on routing, you have RV routing and standard routing. In this case, I want to keep it on RV. And then you see a bunch of yes or no questions. Do I want to avoid tolls? And yes, I do. And then you had avoid highways, ferries, tunnels, and unpaved roads. I have no on all of those, so we'll leave that as it is. And on the right-hand side, we have drive time estimates. Use my average driving speed. The reason I do that is because I like to stay around 60 to 65 miles an hour, but if I put 55 in here, it's going to give me a little more accurate time on how long it's going to take me to get from one place to the next. You'll see all that here in just a minute. On the driving radius, you can decide how you like TripWizard to display the radius overlay on your map. In this case, we're going to stay with the classic driving radius. These colors right here will match what's on the bottom, your minimum distance, your middle distance, and your max distance that you want to travel. On driving distance, I've decided on distances to be set at an average of hours per day, meaning that I really don't want to travel more than 5 hours a day if I can help it. In this case, you'll see in a minute, I can't, but this is what I want to try to do. So I click on that and it's going to tell me in the map. Once all that's done, we can start adding in expenses. I'm not going to get into all that right here on this video because it'll just take up a lot more time. But if you know how much money you want to spend on camping and meals, miscellaneous expenses, average cost per gallon, all that stuff, you can put that in here. You can recalculate expenses for all stops, yes or no. In this case, since we're not putting all that information in there, we'll leave that as a no. This is really good information that you want to have on here if you're on a budget, you're more of a full-time, or you're going to be out on long trips. Or just a little pro tip here, if you're a YouTuber and you're traveling from spot to spot to do YouTube work, you could put this information in here and have this log for your taxes at the end of the year. Just keep that in mind. All right, once all these informations are put in, then we're going to go ahead and save the trip settings. And it's going to start calculating everything out. So you see right here in the middle of the map, this is our starting point. If you look to the left, you can see right here where we'll be starting from. And then on the right hand side, it'll give you some general parks around that area and the distances that they are from you. In this case, we know where we want to go. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to show you that we want to go to Sharon Johnson Park Campground. We've already looked up all that information. So I'm going to go back to RV TripWizard, and up here at the top where it says search for a location or a park, I'm going to go ahead and type that information in there and it should pop up. And there it is right there, the Sharon Johnson Park in New Market, Alabama. We're going to click on that. And you can see right here, if we look at the park details, just to make sure that everything is where we want to be, according to this tab that we clicked up here a minute ago, we come back here and look, and there's all the information. There's your phone number, website, campground review, satellite map. You can check all that out as you create your own. But you can also go and look at the features. You can look at some reviews, tips and QA, and what the current weather is at that park as we stand. So we go back and you see up here, here's the address. So this is where I want to make sure that we're adding the right place to the trip that we have already looked at. So once we know that we got the campground that we want to go to, we'll go over here and add the trip. But before I click on add the trip, I want you to notice here, miles in this leg, 655.6 miles. So that means that if we're going to go straight from our starting point all the way to the campground without stopping, it's going to be 655.6 miles. So just keep that in mind as you're planning your trip. That's not going to be the case in this one, but just keep that in mind. So we'll go ahead and add that to our trip. Number of nights to stay, we'll be staying there for 4 nights. Do we want to lock the date of the stay? Not right now, but if I clicked on that, you can put the date you're going to arrive and the date you're going to leave. I'm going to leave that empty right now. And this is going to be the last stop. For now, we're going to leave this as the last stop. That'll change in a little bit. You'll see in just a little while. But anyway, we got all that done, and we're going to go ahead and add this to our trip. And when we do that, you're going to see here on the map and on the left-hand side where it has added it in. So here's the place we're going to start. Here's the place that we're going to end, which happens to be the campground. Now, to keep things in order, we're going to go ahead and put the first place that we want to stop as we're going to the campground in Alabama. To do that, I need to get the address, and I've already pulled that up earlier on a Harvest Host. The 2 locations that we want to go to is one right here, this little farm, this little picture of a tractor or whatever. And on the way back, we're going to stop at this winery right here, the one with this little symbol of a wine glass. So first we want to go ahead and click on this right here, and this will show us the farm that we want to stop at on our way to Alabama, and it gives us the address right here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and highlight this address, and then we're going to copy that address, and we're going to go back to RV TripWizard, and we're going to go up here and paste it in, and it gives me a place of interest. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to bring me down to the first stop that we're going to do on our way to Alabama. If I click on more details right here, it's going to give me some information that I need to key in. McMillan Farms, how many nights? In this case, we're going to stay 1 night. Do we want to lock the date of the stay? I'm not going to enter that right now, but that would be the date that we're going to stop there. And then we're going to add this stop after where. So in this case, we said that we wanted to stop on our way to Alabama. So we know that Sharon Johnson Park is in Alabama. We want to stop there right after our very first stop, which is this one right here. And we're going to save that custom stop. So you'll see up here on the left, it's going to start to do the remapping of everything so that we can get from one place to the next. So we're going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit so I can show you on the map. We're going to come down 81, we'll stop at this harvest host, pick back up, and head on down to the park in Alabama. Once we're in Alabama, we do our 4-night stay. We want to circle back and come back up to where we stay at the homestead. And to do that, we need to add in the second harvest host spot. So if I go back to the harvest host site and I click on this winery right here, it's going to give me the other address. So again, do the same thing, copy that address. We'll go back up to RV Trip Wizard. Again, the same here, put in our new address and come down here and click on that. And there it is right there. We'll go to more details, and in the stop name, it was Goodwater Vineyards. And the night of stay, we're going to stay 1 night there. And where do we want it to come after? So in this case, we're going from the homestead to McMillan Farms to the Sharon Johnson Park, and then we want to go to the Goodwater Vineyards. So we'll add it after the Sharon Johnson Park. And as you can see on the bottom right here, we have stopped. And if you look on the map, same thing here, we have stopped. There is no end to the map to take us in a full circle. The reason for that is we need to add our address back in again. So we go back up the top and we'll go ahead and put in our address, view more details, and the nights to stay here, it doesn't matter, we can just leave that as it is. We want it to come after the Goodwater Vineyards. We'll go ahead and save that custom stop. It's going to go ahead and start calculating it so that it can get us back home. And once it's calculated, you can see that it has a 7-hour and 24 mark. Now, if you look at the map again, it's trying to take us all the way back up here through 64 again, and we don't want to do that. So again, we got to go and drag the route to make it self-correct. So we come up here and get on this route that goes all the way up at the top. We want to take it back to the bottom again, so I'm going to click on this and hold down on it and get down here to the bottom. All right, now that all that is done, we have our route plan. So from where we stop all the way down to where we end. So we'll go here and do the drag route, turn that back off, show the entire trip, and it'll show we start from here. We're going to hit one of the harvest hosts all the way down to Alabama, and then come back up to another harvest host and back home again. So another thing I want to do is show you where your fuel stops are. So the fuel stops are right here and right here. So we'll click on this one, click on a little more details. We want to add that to the trip. And we want to do this one after our homestead trip. And if we come up here and look at this one, then we'll add this one after the Goodwater Vineyards, and that'll get us our fuel going and coming back. So now if you look on the left, we'll have our homestead, about 4.5 hours to our fuel stop, 2 hours to the McMillan Farms, another 4 hours to the Johnson Park in Alabama, and then from there we're going to head over to the Goodwater Vineyards, to our gas stop, and then back home again. If we go back and show the entire trip again, you'll see all of our stops here that are in accordance to what we have on the left hand side of the RV Trip Wizard. Once all that is done, we can click on the little wrench up here, and we could do a whole bunch of other things that we want to do. We can change trip settings, we could send this to a friend, view visitors, so on and so forth. The cool part about it is I like to be able to print the map itself, and I can have an actual version in my hand just in case I lose any kind of signal while out on the road. So as you can see, that's how RV Trip Wizard works, and that's all the information it's going to give you. Now the cool thing that we said in the earlier part of the video about putting in the information of your RV, so in the case that we put in that we didn't want any tolls, it's going to avoid any tolls at any cost in order to get you to where you need to be according to your route plan. Also, what it's going to do is it's going to avoid any kind of bridges or tunnels or anything like that that may be too low for your rig. So make sure you put that information in as you're using the RV Trip Wizard. Also, another thing that's cool is not only on RV Trip Wizard is it on the computer, but it's on your mobile device as well. And on the mobile device, if you look up the app, it's called RV Life. And if you go to rvlife.com on the computer, you'll see what all that looks like. But if you type it on here, it'll show up. So we'll go ahead and pull up the app where it has the RV Life app, and we'll open that up. And once it gets in, we'll go down here where it says campground map, that little red bar at the bottom, and we'll click on that and it'll pull itself up. And where it says RV Trip Wizard, I want to click on that one. You'll start seeing all these different trips that we planned, but the one at the top, Family in Alabama, that's the one that we just created. I'll go ahead and open that up, and you'll see all the information down here. At the top right hand corner, there's 3 little dots, and we have Manage Trip, Start Directions from the first stop, and download offline maps for the trip. All that information, you can get all that here on your mobile device. So that's just about it for the RV Trip Wizard and planning out a trip. Also, if you're interested in RV Trip Wizard and you're looking at the details and the information about getting a subscription and all that stuff, I'll leave some links down in the description below so you can look all that up, because the prices do change every now and then. And I don't want to leave this video out there with any false information. So you can look in the link down in the description below to get to that and find out what it's going to cost and what kind of subscription that you're looking for. So until the next time, enjoy your trips, keep them planned, and God bless.